Hey Rich, we have our girl joining us today. Maybe I'll divide these videos into little small ones because today we looked at some real slight details that are very important. But instead of just going from one topic to another, let's start with the shaping of your legs in the Fallaway Promenade. We also looked at your Fallaway reverse today in Foxtrot. So let's talk about the Fallaway reverse and a natural Fallaway. The natural Fallaway that we're working on now in the silver is the Fallaway Promenade in Tango. That's a natural Fallaway. It's a Fallaway position, turning to the right. The Fallaway reverse, which we will have in Tango as well, but we've been working on that in Foxtrot. We also dance it in waltz. The Fallaway reverse moves forward from closed position, then turns to the left. Our Fallaway Promenade, we're starting in Promenade and we're turning to the right. So even though it's not called the natural Fallaway in the name, it is a natural Fallaway. It's a right turning action. One of the things we talked about today, and it'll be much easier for me to show you here than to try to do that over Zoom, and this is going to come up in everything we're doing in dancing. How do you turn a hip or rotate, let's say rotate against the direction of the knee and the foot, and keep the foot where it belongs? Because of course, if you're walking around and you go to turn around a corner, you turn your head, you're going to turn your foot in the direction you're traveling in. We have so many places in dancing where we need to maintain a parallel position through the legs and feet. And while we're turning in the direction that's working against our foot. It happens in everything. It happens in oversways where we're rotating our hips, but we mustn't let the knee twist or the foot turn out. So what we'll do today is just look at that in the Fallaway to keep this little practice exercise fairly simple. So what I want you to do is just put your feet apart, and then what we're going to do is flex the knees a little bit here, and we're going to rotate, but also take one hip back and one hip forward. So I guess that should seem logical, but a lot of times I feel when we're rotating, we're not getting this action. We're not getting the release of the joint. A lot of times we're getting rotation, but the rotation in dancing most of the time will also include another direction in the hips. If I only turn my hips, I'm not inviting my lady to come with me. So we're turning the hips, but we're also taking a hip back, which of course brings another hip forward. Well, that brings us to another theme we're always talking about. Keep that center to the lady. If my thighs are working not only, let's say in this case, to the right and backward through my right leg, my left side is automatically given to the girl. If my legs and hips are not active, I will have a tough time staying centered to the girl. And this is where so many times your left arm is fooling you. And it's true for all of the gentlemen. They're moving the left arm towards the girl when they should be moving the center towards the girl. If I keep my base completely still and I try to turn my center to the girl, it's extremely unnatural. So because so often we're not active down here, we have a hard time keeping a good shape. So this is what I want you to feel is the crease here in the standing hip. And this is something we've had a hard time feeling. And you're not the only one. I find that a lot of people don't really realize that they even have this joint in this crease. And so we're trying to turn the hip and take it back and it's stuck. So you will have to feel a little bit as though you're sitting on a bar stool there with your right bum. This is my sense of turn. But in dancing, most of the time our sense of turn is this turn with this backward release. Once again, you can see if I release this joint, in order to do that, I have to allow my knee to go forward as my hip goes back. The angle at my ankle is increasing. You can see how my free leg is shaping inward. That's very important. So what was happening when your Fallaway Promenade, of course, you were turning to the right, the leg was opening up. sometimes you were lifting the toe, and this leg was not shaping at all towards the direction of travel. Let's try that on the other side. So if we stand on the left leg, and I'll also turn around and do this, we're going to be now hinging a little bit on the left hip. Now, if I was dancing Latin, when I would hinge there to take my weight through my foot, I would leave my knee straight most of the time. But here we're going to take the knee forward. This is also helping me to keep my balance while I would be moving the other leg back. In this case, if we were dancing the natural Fallaway, this would be the lady's action. She's on her left side, but you'll do this in many places. So not just a rotation, but a rotation and a release of the crease in the hip and the knee forward. My free leg then is working inwards, and my free leg is not going like this or remaining still. Always shaping the legs towards each other. So we'll do that exercise. Stand on your right leg, rotate, and sit on the chair and shape. Rotate, sit on the stool, and shape. On the left leg, rotate, sit on the stool, shape your free leg. Rotate, crease, knee forward, shaping. You notice also that I'm not tilting. Trying to remain straight and allowing my head weight to travel across the foot. So if I do that from the back, so that would be a bad position. You rotate, you release, you shape. That's my gentleman's Fallaway in this case. And the lady's Fallaway would be on the other side. But there are places that I'll do that also as the man. So what I want you to notice again is how the knee is working in the opposite direction as the hip. Now what usually happens when we haven't got that discipline is we'll rotate the hip and we'll fall. I don't know if you can see that there. We'll let the big toe release from the floor. I think we talked about that a few weeks ago. If you rotate against the foot and you press the big toe down, you activate the leg muscles and the foot muscles. So all the way through my feet, up through my legs. Here, I've got an activation of the inside muscles working against that moving hip. Not a sitting hip that way. Sitting up on the bar stool. The angle here is moving in. So there's a strong pronation in the leg. Same thing here. That's what wants to happen. Whether I bend my knee or not, I want to roll to the outside. Press that big toe down. Rotate. There. I think I've done a video in the past where we talked about this on the throwaway oversway, which we did maybe 2 years ago in your open routine for showcase. So I'll try to find that because I described that there where in a throwaway oversway there's an over rotation for the man, which leads the lady then to swing her leg back. So it's very easy now for the man to release his big toe and allow his knee to follow his hip and injure the knee or release the firmness that we have for our lady there. Very strong rotation of the hip against the leg, the knee holding its position. So that rotation, release, and shaping exercise. And then the other thing that I think was helpful for you to understand, we've talked about it several times, promenade and Fallaway are the same. Promenade moving forward and Fallaway moving backward. But to actually feel it physically, because the position was giving you some trouble. So I had you stand in the position of the link. And then we moved to promenade. Now, I could say I'm moving forward. In the technique, in Tango, this is described as a side step. And it is taken with a sideways movement of my spine. But I'm progressing in promenade. So let's say forward, but not literally forward. So sort of the sideways action. So we have the same thing in Fallaway, but transfer my weight back to that foot. And you notice each time that I'm releasing the heel. There's your link position. You release your heel. You release your heel. We don't have two heels on the floor. Doing well with that, but I just thought I would say that again. So what you will feel when we do the promenade in the tango, it's actually described as side, but when we do the Fallaway promenade, this is described as back in Fallaway with the right shoulder leading. But now that we've practiced this exercise, the sensation is much more sideways. So it's a little hard to describe. Once you get the feeling, you'll be okay with it. But I think if you practice that, link position, move into promenade, move back into Fallaway. So I'm not changing to back. I have to write something in the technique, and so it's probably written as well as it could be, but you will feel a lot of sideways motion in that. The ladies are really doing the same thing. If I was in the ladies' position here, she would move into promenade or she would move into Fallaway. So in either case, it's important that the free foot is shaped inward, the ankle is inward, the thigh is inward. So that's the other point we were talking about today. That's our picture leg. It's the leg we see. We don't really see the one you're standing on. We see the one that's moving. We see the one that's behind you. We see the one that's behind you. So you always want that inward action through the legs. Now that's not only in tango. In tango we're describing inside edge. You're really seeing these positions. But if I was dancing the Fallaway in the waltz or the foxtrot and I would be using a rise, I would have the same shape in my leg. But because I have a rise, you probably, if you really look, you'll see it more in the shaping of the ankle. Right? You won't see as much through the knees simply because we're up. But that's for another day. So let's cut this video right here just in the idea of practicing rotation and backward movement, leading the knee over the big toe and the second toe. I'm going to work a little bit more towards the big toe because of pronation we need to activate the leg. And the movement from here to here, paying attention to your shaping foot. So if I did dance just one time the Fallaway promenade, as I come around the lady, this is the tricky part here. We did this on our video a couple of weeks ago. You can see that my feet and legs are in parallel. They're not open. So that is the problem exactly that you're having, is of opening the leg up. Now what do our ladies do? They often have the same problem. Is right here they'll open too wide and fall back through the foot, release the heel. So the lady also, she will have this feeling of moving diagonally or moving more sideways. All right, so I'll do another little video on some of the other points so we won't cram everything into one video today. You can get a little too many subjects going sometimes. All right, good job. See you next week on Zoom.